Well, it's been interesting. Over the last 24 hours, I've been talking to not one, but two people who invent incredible products and living here on the Isle of Man. Paul, welcome. Fascinating to talk to you because you're telling me about paint, which is something you've been in for some time. But you brought out a special paint, not only with fire resistancy, retardancy, but coronavirus issues, so that you can actually help with that. So over to you. I mean, what's this brand new invention? New paint?
Yeah. So, in truth, what there's always been, how there have been special additives that you can put into paint to protect the paint from bacteria. But unfortunately, and bacteria has been a well-recognised problem in many buildings, care homes, hospitals and the like, and so on. But viruses were always regarded as not of such concern because of their inability, or their perceived inability, to survive for any length of time outside of a body.
And that's where we were until, of course, COVID-19 comes along, right?
That's right, yeah.
Suddenly the game changes.
Yeah, we suddenly discovered that these certain viruses, which have an encasement around them, which we call an envelope virus, so that the ball, that protects the living entity, so enables it to survive for a significant period of time outside a body, particularly on hard surfaces.
How do they do that? They grab onto it or something?
Well, they actually have the grab things are really to be able to grab the lining of your lungs.
Oh, that's what's inside you.
The spikes, yes,
Right,
that's the end of those. But the shell itself is just protecting it from being destroyed.
Got it. So that gives it extra time.
That gives it the protection.
How long did they talk about? Sometimes weeks, isn't it?
Indeed, I'm afraid so, yes. So they can remain contagious for quite a few weeks on a hard surface.
Yeah.
Don't understand why it's not on a soft surface, but it seems to be on hard surfaces.
So this paint would be obviously of use in hospitals, care homes, anywhere with particularly vulnerable people or
and anyone
exposed.
else where actually they've got a problem with. It can also be used for hotels, restaurants, cafes and things like that, because what it's actually doing is the coating itself on a surface, it destroys the actual protection that the virus has. It breaks down the connection between the living centre and the shell. It stops it from being able to contaminate you, and it stops the spikes from being able to cling to the linings of your stomach. So when you put this onto a surface, if you have a surface that becomes contaminated with the virus, then within 2 hours, the material here, our coating, will help to make it reduce its the living entities that are dangerous to us by 91%.
How long does that go on after you've done the paint job there? I mean, does it not wear away?
Indefinitely, because the material, the actual component parts, it's a mixture of metals. The good thing about mixtures of metals is they don't leach out. They're not like salts, which can leach out from a surface so that you lose performance over time. And there are many paints, and it's perfectly common to have metals within paints to do many different things. For example, primers have metals in them, zinc phosphates and the like, so that again they give corrosion protection indefinitely. The same thing with but there are certain metals, and some of them are very expensive. The major component of this is silver, which is obviously extremely expensive, but there are a whole load of others that we go to create a combination. It's that combination of metals which means that it actually helps to destroy the virus, and then any that are taken into you, the large majority of them aren't able to actually do their nasty work because of the break in the connection between the living cell and the shell. You end up with the spikes and the ends of them not being able to grip the lining of your stomach, so then of your lungs, I beg your pardon. So then the natural cleansing action of your lungs can work to flush them out, so they're not able to stay there and continue to contaminate you.
Now, this is, I mean, Thermogard you're under, that's the paint to stop particularly flames, isn't it? And
yeah,
heat
that's
things.
right. Yeah.
So have you added this to it, or is it a whole new
yeah,
range?
So
or did you find about it?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the problems that there was with the virus thing was how do you prove something actually works? When this catastrophe happened early last year, They actually, well, in 2019, at the end of 2019, they actually developed a test, an official range of tests. So there are microbiology laboratories that carry out these tests and then give you certificates for them to prove that your stuff does what you say. And if you've got much less than 90%, it's deemed to be not completely efficacious. The NHS required 90% as the target figure. And with ours, it does it within 2 hours. Normally you're allowed 24 hours for something to be proved it works and is suitable. But obviously, any killing action from something is progressive. So the quicker it kills, the better, obviously. And also, it does mean then that there's less risk of people picking up contamination from it. Now, we put those additives into our fire protection paint. The fire protection paints that we have, there's two component thing. One is which in a fire, in heat, it swells up to create an insulating barrier. You've got a catalyst which creates an internal heat, then a blowing agent which creates an internal blowing action, which pushes out an insulating layer of char. That insulates the surface, and then on top of that you've then got a coating which works together again with a catalytic reaction, which gives off a vapor to extinguish a flame. So you have an instant reaction and then to extinguish a flame, and then after that you've then got the insulating layer. So that's what stops the surface spread of flame between the two of them, and it's a near instant reaction. And that's what we've always sold, and we sell it throughout the whole of the United Kingdom.
And there's never been a more interesting time, poignant time, because of all the issues with cladding and things like that, is it? I mean,
that's right.
All these fires that have been going on. So
yes, because it's vital. What people don't, unfortunately, the foam that we sold on the outside of Grenfell is in people's houses. It's called Celotex, it's called Kingspan, it's called everything. That stuff, the same stuff, it's everywhere. Right. It's in our buildings, millions of buildings. In fact, the building industry use it as a lighter for bonfires on site.
Right.
Yes, but what they don't realise is that the gas, the smoke coming off it, is cyanide gas.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really scary.
So you had your thermogard,
Yeah.
and then you actually went out to make the COVID-19 formula as well, or did it just?
Yeah, well,
the
reality is that there are a number of ingredients out on the market which are recognised to do various things.
Yeah.
The trick is to actually find a mixture which creates the right kind of reaction for you, because the antibacterial products, we do those as well, and in comparison, for example, on this, whereas this kills the viruses within 2 hours, or 91% of them, it's still 87% more effective than the antibacterial products, because you do it in comparison with those, with what we call a control. So the fact is, though, that there are different levels of protection, different kinds of material, and it's the way that you make them work together. And I have to say, we also put a lot of it in. The more you put in of something like silver, the more expensive it is.
I was going, how expensive is this? Is it really in a different league? Is it? I mean,
well, it's actually certainly more than market's actually about the same kind of price as Farrow and Ball paint.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not cheap, but it's not wildly expensive.
And you obviously your hand must be a bit off at the minute with orders and interest on this, isn't it?
We're only just launching it now, but we are already we're being inundated with inquiries from people from the specifying bodies right across the United Kingdom.
And of course, protection is the biggest thing. We always talk about this with inventors, how to protect this from being taken by other people. You got that under control. You got all your patents in place and things like that.
Yes, and also, and it has to be said that we are light years ahead of other people in terms of flame spread.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of the factors. People will catch up with us on the virus thing. People have been trying, and ultimately will catch up with us on the flame spread thing. But most companies will take years to catch up. In the meantime, we're obviously we're a recognised brand in the industry with a good reputation, and we can build on that reputation, and if ultimately people copy us, and then they end up making the world a bit safer as well, it's not a bad thing, is it?
True. You used to produce on the Isle of Man years ago, didn't you? And
I did it
it's
once.
now bigger now. It's too big.
I did it one stage. Yes, but
so you've always been to paint, or is it just one of your adventures?
No. I've been in paint since for over 40 odd years. I'm not a chemist, but what I am is an ideas man, and I bring chemists in to me and work with them, and I understand how things work, and then get a team of people around me, and we work with them.
Fascinating talking to you here today, Paul. All your good supplies, as I say, you'd find it in all the right shops, would you, your product?
Yeah, all the independent merchants across the United Kingdom, Dulux decorating centres, and we do sell it direct as well, but really we've got about 400 outlets across the United Kingdom. And
was it a eureka moment about the coronavirus additive, or was that something you really been working on?
Once you actually work on it, it takes several months to work on it, so you'll keep adding stuff, and then working on it and then building up the performance, because it's you actually need to get to around 90% before the NHS and other bodies will accept that it's actually deemed to be efficacious, which is a word we've been hearing recently. So if below that, then those bodies would say it's not adequate. Admittedly, you cannot make arguments in terms of it's better than nothing, even if she did something that was half as good. But from our point of view, you want to make sure that it was right. And you also have to make sure that you then can, having developed it, you've got to be able to produce it, get everything working properly, because all of our paints all the time have to be ones which people can use all the time, last, be durable. A lot of them are external exposure controlled, so they're highly weathering, highly washable, durable. They have to be able to do everything. When you're a small brand like we are, although we're big in our little field, we're a small paint brand. And when you're a smaller brand, then there's always more of a microscope you're under more of a microscope. And you have to make sure that your stuff is really actually better than anyone else's, because if it isn't better than anyone else's, then people will shoot at you, and we don't want to get shot.